Hello, this is the Circle Holding podcast with Tessa Venuti-Sanderson and Julia Davis. We are the co-authors of Circle Holding, a practical guide to facilitating talking circles. And we run different levels of training if you want to become a circle facilitator or develop your skills. Let's dive into the podcast. It's Tessa here today, and I am very honoured to have Marta Fabregat with me, who I have done some training with in the past around focusing, and we'll get into some detail about that later. Welcome, Marta.
Hello, Tessa. It's so lovely to be here with you.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about listening and hopefully have a deeper understanding of listening by the end of this. And I've got a little poem by Kafka that just popped up in my life a couple of days ago. It said, "You need not leave the room. Remain sitting at your table and listen. You need not even listen, simply wait. Just learn to become quiet and still and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has not choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet." And I just love that, this just being there.
I always feel with poems like that it's like a door, that they are opening a door for you to listen in a very intricate way. What I am with after listening to the poem is something in my heart, and like an opening of curiosity.
In the introduction, I mentioned about focusing, and I know this is a big topic. I spent a year just beginning to learn about it with you. But in a few sentences, can you give somebody a kind of overview of focusing?
This is the 1 million question, I think, that nobody knows how to answer, and I'm not going to try to answer it from the mind, really, because what is focusing exactly? Because the word itself cannot cover exactly what focusing is. But for me, if I had to explain it with a felt sensation, like thinking and feeling at the same time, like now I'm feeling and thinking at the same time, because I think we need both. So focusing teaches us to bring felt meaning that is growing and that is alive in any given present moment. So it's including life and the environment, your life and your inner environment, but everything else and the environment around you. So you can have a relationship. You are the environment, but you are also the one that is aware of the environment around. But inner relationship in contact with life, I would say. Something like that, simple and not that easy. Not that easy to, so as you know, because the mind wants to understand it. And you cannot fake this, because the mind cannot do that. It has to be with the body. So the body needs to be fully involved in this, listening from the body. The priority is in the body. And the mind is there also to give everything that it knows, but it's filtered through the body. So the information also from the mind will help the body, but the body is is at the driver's seat of the experience, if you know what I mean. So focusing, yes, is the art of living, really, more than a method or a technique or anything like that. You cannot tick the box with focusing. You have to do it. You have to really want to do the, you have to want to cultivate this and be part of that way of living. Yeah.
Should we give people a little bit of an example? So if they've sort of never heard what it sounds like, they can get a sense of it. Perhaps we could both do a little bit of focusing.
I would love that.
Yeah. Would you like to start? Would that be okay?
Yes. So are we, Tess, are we going to do like, I'll focus and you will reflect to me as well?
I
Or
think,
only?
I think let's just say aloud what we're feeling ourselves, because I know that when you're reflecting, that's a whole other level. It
Yes,
can
yes,
seem
that's right.
easy when somebody does it well, but actually it takes practice.
Totally. So yes, yeah, just sensing first as I close my eyes and I come to the meet me more fully in an explicit way, so you know what is happening in me while I'm here. Even though when I was talking with you, that was happening, but I was not expressing this. Yes, I want to stay that. I've been sensing the whole day something, and I still hear around my chest that I'm keeping company. So I'm just noticing that it's there. And just pausing with that and allowing it to be there the way it is. And then coming very close to the sensation of gravity. I can sense how my bum is sitting, and I notice the little details of, my sitting bones and different areas around the skin that is in contact with the chair, and kind of a sense of pressure and the contact with the fabric of my clothes towards my skin. I notice different aspects, almost millimeter by millimeter. I can sense, yeah, deep sigh with that, like the sensing of that resting place, my feet on the ground. Also sense my hands, and the sense of temperature in my hands is a little bit cooler than other parts of the body. I can really sense the something around my chest, and just after coming back from another meeting that is that I work with a group of people every week at this time, and I was coming to meet you, Tessa, and I knew I had a very small window, 5 minutes, and I was kind of coming. Just something here around, yeah, being here with you, and really want to, something that really wants to rest and being here with you. Something like that. When I say that, something is like, oh, it's about this. Resting here with you, and something around being in the listening field with you. Something like that. I notice that something settles as I'm speaking from that place, and I'm letting it know that I am here and I'm acknowledging this place. Long breath. Something is already changing and shifting. That area is still alive, and I can sense that it's here, and I'm letting it know that it can be there the way it is. And I will keep company to it as I am forward flowing with you with the rest of the podcast. And I'm going to open my eyes now.
Thank you, Marta, for sharing.
Thank you.
Have a tone as well. And yeah, I'm really sensing how I'm sitting, and I notice I'm leaning forwards a little bit. It's there's a feeling of anticipation or kind of moving towards feeling at the front of the body. I'm aware of the chest and the front of the neck. And also sensing there's a quietness. And a settling. In moving around different places today. And it's a feeling of the expression that came to most coming home to roost. It's a feeling of comfort. And as I say that, I can really feel a warmth in my belly with that acknowledgement of the feeling of being back home and comfort. There's a real warmth spreading through the belly and actually all the way up the back. I feel like I'm reconnecting with the back of myself. And I'm going to open my eyes, come back. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wonder whether you could say something about your experiencing of focusing. You're saying, this art of living. How does it change the way you are in your life?
I can feel basically the fullness of the question, because almost the question implies the answer, isn't it? How focusing changes everything. And for people that have been listening to the podcast until now, we are only here 15 minutes or so. It's not that long, but I hope you are already noticing that there is something about pause and the stillness that one finds, and anybody can find. Okay, everybody can do this. That is unique for all of us, an individual is unique. So when we access that, or when we remember that aspect of meeting ourselves more fully, what happens in the outside is a reflection. You cannot not do that. Of course, if you keep company to you in this particular way, where you are honoring so much, you're experiencing of life in contact with you and what happens in your body, and you're noticing. And even if you don't name it like what we have done now, you name it for yourself when you notice it. And you're resting with it. You're not doing anything with it. You're not intervening or wanting to make a stretch or wanting to stop it from being, or offering something not to be there, or running away from it. You are with it. You have decided to stay with it. It's a big thing, isn't it? You make a decision to stay with it. But it's not even a decision. It's just, with practice, this is natural, that will happen because you're in relationship with you. So on the outside, how this affects is, oh my God, everything changes. Everything changes. There is less right and wrong, or at least you are working towards less right and wrong in your life. So someone tells you or gives you an idea or a belief system, or it's implying something, you can listen to that in a way that maybe nobody listened to that before. So all the structures of defense that maybe are there in terms of our conditioning structures of our pattern obedience, or our patterns, the obedience of patterns that we have in our life, as in our conditioning, go down. And something new that maybe was not realized before in this relationship can start growing. Everything changes. it has a ripple effect, and it's not esoteric. It's quite
What's
natural, organic.
what's coming to my mind is I remember there was I think it was an email I saw that Jules Wingfield wrote, who's done circles for many years with couples and with women. And she talked about how she realized over the decades that there'd been too much initially. And by slowing down the process and actually being with the process rather than thinking about an outcome, as we were talking about at the beginning, everything changed. And what I notice in my women's circle is that sometimes people are very engaged in what they're hearing, but there's that response, oh yeah, that happened to me. I want to build empathy. I want to show that they're not alone. Oh yes, that. But then we're moving away from the pure listening.
Yeah. Yeah. When there is an objective, when we're exactly what you're saying, when we are concentrated in the objective of that they will get it right, for example, let's say for groups, yeah, that you want to, to care and to nourish that holding in such a way that they will really also be finishing the retreat with a kind of a sense of something. In some way, we are intervening in the natural process. It's very interesting how that happens, because we are, in a way, gardeners, yeah? We have learned to garden. We haven't learned to rewild, or to rewild ourselves and life. So all our learning and until here, and still it's going on, you name it, you go into Google and you're looking for a course, and there it is, how to be a gardener, in many different ways. Spoon-fed on how to be a gardener, 1,500 ways of methodology on how to be a gardener. But the most difficult thing, it always will be to rewild and to really be in a hands-off environment where you allow the natural order of things to function and to find its own natural way. For that to happen, it also needs some conditions. It's not that you are redundant from that place. No, it needs company. For a natural regeneration to happen of the order of connection among us, people, or among life, I think it works in all levels, animals, plants, and we need company. We need company, and a kind of company that is not interventional, that is non-judgmental, that it cares in such a way that will not dare to put a finger on it, so it can find itself when the time is right, when the time has the perfect arrangement and conditions. But the most important thing is that you will remain there, because then it can grow.
Could you think of that like a being with?
Being with, yeah.
Yeah.
And that being with is full of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not empty. It's empty and it's full. That's my sense. It really brings you to that place, And it's not, a place that you're floating. It's really grounded. I think the body keeps us grounded in that connection with the organic becoming, or who we are. And if we are in contact with the body, that organic memory of who we are and how we are made of and how our body functions, if we have that capacity of listening to that memory, everything else is like an intricate listening to everything else with environment around us. It's like it's going, like the analogy that keeps coming to me now, I'm actually writing about this. The organic memory, the listening to our organic memory in our body, where you can find that access point, like a nucleus point of resting in you, can offer you, and it will be different for everyone. That's my investigation. Your own mycelium in Middle Earth to listen to everything else in a way that is not judgmental, you know, and that it's not objective based, but it has the quality whether you have information of it or not. Your body has the information, yeah. It's giving you the quality of listening that will, for you to understand it in a very intricate and maybe less words way, you know, with more compassion and more including everything.
How important do you think it is that we can find the words when we're listening to the felt sense, though?
Yeah. So, yeah, felt sense is something curious, and for those of you that don't know what a felt sense is a word that Eugene Gendling developed or found. I think he found that word in his own experiencing of coming in contact with his body. Yeah. And he found that felt sensing, and now it's being used by many other methods, and it's okay, you know. But I'm not sure if they describe it in the or experienced in the way it's the core practice of felt sensing in focusing. Okay, felt sensing is not everything that you find in there. Felt sensing is a complex organism that only can grow inside of your body when the right conditions of listening to you are happening. Which means when you can be with all the different aspects that are at the surface of experience, whether it is conditioning thinking, physical aches and pains and sensations, or feelings that can be background feelings, or can be feelings that you are with. Most of the time there is a kind of a sadness there, or there is a kind of a melancholy ongoing in you, you know? They are not felt senses, even though you might have a physical sensation of them. Felt sense is something of the complexity of what you find when you open the door of a feeling, yeah? And it comes in a different tonality in the physical body, in how you are sensing it. It's delicate, it can be moving, it can be, you know, wavy and making different things. And like now I can feel it around my heart as I'm speaking of it. It comes to show me how it is. It's beautiful. So felt sense, yeah, felt sense has meaning, yeah, but has information about everything about that. It won't do it with one word only. And sometimes it might be okay, one word comes and it lands completely in the felt sense, and the felt sense, you can feel it that says, yes, yeah, it's about that, yeah? But if you stay a little bit longer, if you don't just keep it and fix it and you just catch it and you go away with that word, if you stay a little bit longer, it's going to give you the multi-layered experiencing of that theme or that something that you are with in such a beautiful and amazing way that you can write a book about that theme. Let's put it that way. So the felt sense has an endless information in a philosophical way where it's creating new meaning, something that it's known, but also your own experiencing of this theme, which is probably new.
I was thinking again of poetry and sort of how when you're trying to find the right word and you say, well, or maybe it's not quite like that. It's more this, and and there's through that clarification, you're getting close to the richness.
Exactly, and I can understand why so many poets, they go back into their poetry years after and want to change the poem. And why is that? Because when they read it again, something jumps up in the body when those words are pronounced again as an echo to the body, because they don't want to stay the same. There is, from that moment that it was written to now, something has shifted. How many people that write music, after my son is a musician and he tells me all the time, oh, please don't play that song. Because that's 10 years ago, so when he was 15. And his experience of 22-year-old now is not the same, or 21, you know? It's very different. Maybe you can revisit that song and go back, and then maybe, you know, write something that is current with that you learn, and all the time in between. There's so much information. Yeah, is so no wonder that happens. Yeah, no wonder. Yeah.
And I noticed there was an article about focusing in the Juno magazine. So it's the autumn 2024 edition
Of a magazine of, oh wow.
Yeah, Juno magazine, yeah. And it's a lovely article about using it with children.
Wow, yeah.
And the way they titled it was Hearing Our Own Insides.
Yes,
And
exactly.
they were saying, because it might be that a child couldn't explain what's happened, but if you say, where is it living in your body, most children kind of be able to say something about that and what it feels like. I thought that was lovely.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you feel it in the body? When there's when there are less defenses or mechanisms or strategies that have been built up, that's like a human animal functioning, yeah. And we are more connected with our senses, and we are in that kind of when we are children, we are connected very much with that moment of an edge. There is an edge at some point on our development, child development, probably at around 5, 6, 7, where we have to make a choice, and somehow we make a choice to be gardeners instead of keep rewilding ourselves. Yeah. So because the conditions are not appropriate, it is safer to become a gardener, to fit in and to belong to the quality of institutional colonialism, yeah, that it's happening. So we need to become a gardener, even though within us we are exiling so many things at that point of that want to be rewilded and want to continue growing as a native woodland, yeah. Native woodland, yeah.
And I'm thinking about how this then translates into a group of people or a circle where, you know, it's possible that people could come together and just talk on a more surface level.
Yeah.
And that might be helpful to be listening in some sense and being witnessed in your experience. But then if it shifts to that deeper listening where you're tracking what's happening as people talk,
Yeah.
that's quite a different thing, actually.
Radically different. Very radically different, because, and this happens, you know, I don't know if you all probably have been in a meditation retreat, yeah. And the moment that the silence is gone, everybody starts talking like nothing has happened. Most likely this is going to happen, and I've been meditating for a long time, and I always struggle with that. That's why I became a focuser. Because I needed to continue in the outer relationship. I needed to continue noticing my experience in contact with everyone else, and not to start talking about I don't know, politics. Or if we are talking about politics, that it's been spoken from a place of that felt sensing, oh, I mean, there's that something in me that feels that this is very uncomfortable, what's happening here. And I'm struggling with this. And I'm feeling it here in my heart. I miss that in retreats. I miss that. That's why you will rarely see me in any retreat anymore, unless it's a focusing retreat. Because I know that even though that might happen in a focusing retreat, I can ask for this way of listening. Yeah. I can always ask for that way of listening anyway, yeah? But I know that the space is created for that to happen.
Because I know from when I'm sort of running trainings around people who want to start to lead circles, there's a lot of worry about the dynamics that there will be in the group, and if there's a lot of raw emotion that comes up, or if somebody starts to dominate. And I think when you start to make all of that explicit of what's happening.
So that's why I think reflection is very beautiful, and of course it needs to be done at the same time when you're learning focusing. You cannot do this by reading a book, okay? Focusing needs to be learned, and it is a process, a group process, so you have your own experiencing of how that affects your body system when you are accompanied in this way. And that is like you are accessing your inner pedagogy, you're learning in your own way, and all of a sudden all the conditions for learning appear in your process. So I would always say, please don't ever reflect if you haven't don't reflect, because I'm sure that your conditioning is creeping inside of the edges of what you're trying to do, and still be doing the same, advice giving or wanting to intervene, So in a group for me, one of the beautiful things of being a facilitator, and a deep honor to be carrying many groups in my life, is that sitting with the experience of all that is there without exception, just as it is, without judgment. So for example, if someone is speaking, I will just give them the space, wherever it is. I wouldn't imply that they are dominating. So that's something that says that they are dominating. I will keep company to that myself as a how do you say it? As a facilitator, no, of a space, because that might come up for me. Yeah, because we are human beings. I'm not enlightened, and I'm not trying to do that. I am a human being with a very messy inner stuff like everyone else. I just happen to be keeping company to it ongoingly in my life a lot. So I have a lot of practice not to get in the way of other people's growth. Yeah. We are shaky human beings, all of us, and I think it is very important that the arrogant self as a facilitator comes down the stage with people, with the people, and change the dynamic from that place. The reflection will help whoever is there to be more with themselves, so it can self-regulate, wherever it's there, and you can keep on doing that. So I noticed that when we are reflecting in this way, my knowing of everything, I leave it in one side, and my analysis of things and everything I've learned and everything in between, psychology and everything else, I leave it on the other side, and I'm only really there, like if I was going into the woods and I was seeing this deer, and that's the deer that it is, as it is. There is no right and wrong thinking there. Has not to be. If there is some right and wrong thinking, we need to keep company to ourselves, otherwise it will affect the holding of the group, really. So it is a delicate place, holding groups. Yeah, it is delicate. For safety and for real shift, for real shifts to happen in circle holding.
Yeah, very delicate. There's a real art and skill that, as you said, with the focusing only comes through practicing it and doing it and being there. And I wonder, what do you think the connection is to the beginner's mind? Sort of, is that perhaps something that's recognizable to people that you think is applicable?
Yeah, beginner's mind as Zen, Suzuki. Yeah, of course. Yeah, my background is in Zen. Before I came into focusing, I was a Zen practitioner for many years, and I still am. And I don't think I can ever be out of that, because it really humbles me, that beginner's mind, ongoingly. And no matter how many years you are at it, I feel that we need to come back into that, the humility of being shaken, because if we go inside, it's most of the time it is shaking inside, most of the time shaking in some way, whether it is about your life or it is because something that is unresolved in your life and with your family, or the world is shaking. And if you are in contact with your human animal, you really feel that. Not to do something, but to be with both, with beauty and terror within you, because if you listen, that's what it is. But that doesn't mean that we need to be merging or having to fix it or anything like that. It means that being in contact with what is I feel very important for the new paradigm that maybe we are all waiting for, But I don't think it can be done without the not knowing and the humble beginner mind.
And so if somebody was aspiring to become a circle holder,
Yeah.
what would you recommend in terms of their rewilding? How would you, I don't know, signpost them to how they can develop that rewilding rather than being a gardener still?
Well, I haven't found anything better than focusing in my life. And I've been shopping around like everyone else. But I think I want to stay here. There is nothing in the world that is being offered that I'm interested anymore. Because that reduces focusing for me has reduced everything into simplicity, into really just cultivating a practice that has endless, infinite information that comes from me and not from other people or other sources. Other people and other sources will also be very beautiful to be with, to play with. But ultimately, the newness of what I'm about, it's my own signature. Is your unique purpose, is your unique signature. And it is important in the world that we bring our own signature. It is important, very important.
Thank you so much. You've raised some really important, that sort of authenticity of being with your own uniqueness and the being humble and all of those things. I really appreciate your experience on this. And I hope people will take a look at focusing if they've not heard about it before. I'll put links below the episode so people can perhaps start a new journey to their own rewilding.
Yes, yes. It was lovely to be with you, Tessa. I have very fond memories of you in the class and our group, our little group of that year. And I'm very happy about your book and everything that you have done. Really, I'm bowing at you. Thank you.
Thank you. My heart is full having talked to you. I'm going to go and enjoy that glow with my heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Circle Holding podcast. Remember, you can join us online for trainings. We've got the Circle Holding training that's a comprehensive level training, or you can join us in person in London on retreat. Take a look at circleholding.org for all the details. Thank you so much for listening.